Tech Tales 25. I'm reading time slips from last week. These are on Wednesday of last week. Wednesday and Thursday. The first one is one of the law firms. Let's see, P. This one starts with P. So the law firms I'm most frequently talking about is PBMW. Each of those letters is the first letter of the name of the office. So this one, I was working remotely for a new staff member. They sent me an email telling me that this person was going to be starting work the next day. So I received this email on Wednesday. It might have been Tuesday. But this person was going to start work on Thursday. So they needed it set up in time. And this has kind of been a historical thing where one person's leaving a desk, another person's coming in, and I've got one day to set it up. Now, I don't object to them doing that because my days are by the seat of the pants every day, and I love it that way. I would not like to look ahead on my calendar and see every day scheduled out. It's not for me. I like start my day every morning not really knowing what the day is going to bring. So I'm fine with this, and they love that I can be that flexible with it. So for me, it's a part of locking that client in. They're not going to be able to find this kind of service elsewhere. So I guess the message for any service provider is really understand what advantages you provide to your clients that they don't get elsewhere, and emphasize those or really try to capitalize on those. So this one was 3:08 p.m. to 4:28 p.m., an hour and 20 minutes. And the time slip reads, began reconfiguration of K's computer for M via checklist. So I have a checklist for this function. I'm not setting up a new computer here. I'm taking the computer that's already used by K and reconfiguring it for use by M. In this office, they log into Windows with a specific username that is also on the server, 2 servers. So, and we don't use Active Directory in this office, so I actually have to create the user account on each of those 2 servers. And it's a pretty easy configuration. It would be more cumbersome. I have to get better equipment for those to be using Active Directory. So we don't have any reason to use that. In fact, I'm thinking very seriously about when we replace these servers, it's probably going to be peer servers. Windows 10 computer that will be dedicated to serving files, and that seems to be happening a lot these days. Less and less need for a real server, and we don't have security issues. They get into each other's stuff. It is okay, and they don't quite know each other's passwords, but close enough. Close enough meaning they can just maneuver to somebody else's folder from their own computer and access files. So the point there is we don't have security separating files for different users. But anyway, when somebody transitions, I do have to reconfigure the computer, and it kind of takes a while. So that is beginning that checklist for an hour and 20 minutes. That ended at 4:28 p.m. At 5:27 p.m., about an hour later, I did another 5:27 to 6:38, which was an hour and 11 minutes. That time slip reads, completed reconfiguration of K's computer for M via checklist. And at that point, M should become able to come in the next day and do her work. And I notice now that I'm looking at that I didn't include the phone reconfiguration. Reconfigured phone extension. So I think I've talked about this activity before. Is they have an IP phone system, and I have kind of taken over or adopted managing their phone transitions. Because if they call their IP phone vendor, it generates a service tag and a service call. Somebody comes out, makes a little change. Somewhere back in time, in a conversation with their technician, I just now have access to the software, and I go in and change the name on an extension or move an extension to a different desk. And I've learned enough about the system to do a variety of things. It's pretty complex. It's definitely a specialty field, but for what we need, it's working out. So let's see, I saved this and then it scrolled away from me. Let's get back down to here and there. So that's finishing the second one. Then the next time slip is for the CPA's office that I've spoken of many times. And this is the senior partner again, another email problem. So we did this with text messaging and email and phone conversation and remote support. And the time on this slip reads 11:33 to 11:48. Yeah, so that's 15 minutes. So that was all pretty much bing, bing, bing through all those things. I was looking at that because sometimes I'll put in a start time and the end time might be a couple hours later, and it might be a total of 15 minutes. If it was just, there's some text messages, there's email, and then there's phone, and then there's remote support, but this all occurred right in that time frame. So the time slip reads text, email, phone, and remote to resolve failure to launch Network Solutions webmail. Now, previous times when I've talked about this webmail, I haven't specified the name of the mail provider. It's Network Solutions. Network Solutions was around in the earliest days of when you could get a custom domain name and file a domain name. My impression back in those days, they were the only place to be able to file a custom domain name. I'm not sure that's correct, but I know that was my understanding of it back then, in the 90s somewhere. But they haven't done a very good job of keeping up with the advances in email from the rest of the industry, so we have some struggles with them. And this particular client really likes using the webmail interface. So he launches the webmail interface. He doesn't like using Outlook. Their office is transitioning to a new email domain that is hosted by Microsoft 365. And in there, he can use a webmail interface, but it looks and feels more like Outlook than what he's accustomed to with this Network Solutions. So he's actually using two email addresses these days. He still uses the old one a lot because a lot of his long-standing clients have that email address. But anyway, he was contacting me because it wouldn't launch. And I have a note here, the rest of the time slip. Suspect Network Solutions had a brief interruption of service as I was unable to launch webmail from my computer at the beginning of this episode. Then it unexpectedly started working on both computers. So I was about to reach out to Network Solutions because when I found that I couldn't log into his account from my computer, I figured they must have a problem. So I was maneuvering to find their phone number and call them, I think I was first checking on their website to see if there was a notification there of system troubles. And then it just started working. I discovered on my computer that it was working because I think I was working on a different screen and I saw some flashing and some emails came in. And so I realized, it's working. And then shortly after that, I got a text from my client saying, it's working, thanks. He thinks I fixed it. But I'm putting in this time slip. No, I didn't fix it. It looks like they had a problem and they fixed it. I I am very reluctant to take credit for something that I didn't actually do. One of the reasons for that is integrity, yeah, but that's not really the strongest reason. The strongest reason for me is that if something else happens later in the day or the next day and I claim that I fixed it, well, why can't I just fix it again? What if the next one is longer of a gap? Or what if Network Solutions sends an email to my client apologizing for their brief interruption of service? It's just too easy to get caught if you conceal the truth of what happened. I far rather just say it the way it is. I sleep better. I don't get caught in a white lie or twisting something, and it feels more integritedness like. Whatever. It's a good feeling. Go there. That's a good place to be. So I think that'll do it for this session, and I hope that was useful. Have a great day. Catch you later. Goodbye.